If so, please identify yourself.
I don't see anybody.
There's nothing on the attendees.
You are on the attendees.
Okay.
No, go ahead, Jim. We're good.
If you are joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on your Zoom dashboard, or if you are joining by phone, by pressing *9 on your keypad. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Thank you. Going to item 1, the minutes of the meeting. The approval of the May 2nd, 2023 joint meeting of the Port Council and public session. I'll take a motion to move.
So moved.
Second. For discussion, my notes indicate that we approved these minutes, which would be item 4 on the June 6th meeting. Is there any reason why we're approving them again?
I think it's on in my notes. So,
I don't think they were prepared by that.
no, they were. We had 2 meetings in May, Joe, if you recall. So
Okay.
You approved the minutes of your meeting before the joint session that we had with the board.
Okay, I understand that. In other words, we're approving them again because they didn't get approved. They didn't get approved to the governor's
Yeah,
meeting.
you haven't approved the joint session minutes with the board. You approved the minutes of your meeting that happened earlier that week.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'll take a motion.
We have one for about in a second from Nat.
In a second.
Nat Lowell?
Yeah, I seconded. Aye.
It was seconded. Yeah. John Cahill?
Cahill, aye.
Rod Rail?
Aye.
Is Mark Reese on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. I didn't see you up there.
There it is.
Mark Reese
Yes.
and Rob Murnia.
Aye.
And Solito, aye. Secondly, approval of the minutes of the meeting of August 1st. Do I have a motion?
Motion to,
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Before we take a vote, I'd just like to bring the attention. I was a little concerned about Article 5, Item 5. Mr. Higgins and I had a discussion about the sanctity, and there's no mention of me asking the questions that I asked at that time. I was wondering why, Mr. Driscoll, that wasn't included in the minutes of the meeting. I think there was a somewhat detailed, no, not really detailed, but a report of it in the Martha's Vineyard Times, which was much more clarifying than Item 5 in our minutes that we had before us today. Is there any reason why that wasn't included?
No, I don't have a recollection of it either way, so I can review those and add more detail and bring it back if you'd like.
I would appreciate that, because we did have a question and answer period, a question and answer between Mr. Higgins and myself, and I think it was important at that meeting that it does be included in the minutes of the meeting. And until such time as they're amended, I'm not going to take a vote on those minutes. Any questions on that?
No.
From the board?
I understand and look forward to getting the minutes edited.
Thank you, Mr. Cahill.
Make a motion to table the minutes to next meeting.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Although, Matt Lowell,
Aye.
John Cahill,
Cahill, aye.
Bud Brill,
But real die.
excuse me, I'm sorry. Bud Brill, Mark Reese
Aye.
and Rob Murnia.
I'll be abstaining whenever the vote comes up because I wasn't there, but certainly aye for punting this to the next meeting.
And Joe Solito, aye. Management report, update on the current projects.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. So in the room, in addition to the Bud and Sean, who you've heard from already, we have Mark Rosen, Terrence Keneally, Courtney Oliveira, Kurt Van Riper, Stephen Coleman, Bridget Sullivan, Janice Kennefic, and Allison Fletcher. So the first item is an update on the website design. ADK, or Stellar Elements, continue to work on various.
The slide, or are you just doing it?
Yeah, you can put that up. work on various items on the list. The website pages, the content management system entries, including onboarding tutorials, the contact us page functionality, updating the tools for gift cards, purchases. We have wait lists, notifications and emails being worked on, the travel advisories, the interface for customers to be able to look at their past reservations, and working on the eFerry ticketing purchases so that way they can add it to their wallet. There's various bug fixes that they're working on, and the checkout for it. So there Stellar Elements and the internal team here have been working on open items for the system. As the slide shows, there was 93 open tickets. There's currently 93 open tickets as of the end of August. 58 of those have been addressed, but they're just in review to make sure that those have been resolved fully. The developers continue to work on finalizing the mobile app, the programming that's necessary for the Head Start, which was going to be a secondary phase originally, and the walk-on passenger ticket sales. Internal testing continues on the on various elements, including the wait list and the preferred space transactions. I think next. So Stellar Elements has modified their support team. They've removed the strategist and they've added an additional developer to the team. As we move forward here for the mobile app, they anticipate a 2-week turnaround time once it's submitted to the Apple Store for approval. And apparently the Google Play, it takes less time. It's only about a week's notice once it's submitted to be added to those sites. We'll need to be doing some live credit card and gift card processing. And that they anticipate we're going to need about 10 days to be going through that between processing and waiting for them to come back through the credit card processor, verifying those, refunding the transaction. And so it's not only sales but refunds. We still have some internal training sessions that we're working on here through the now through the middle of the month. The initial early launch date that we have right now will be limited because we're going to need to go through and make sure that everything is transferred over properly before we open it up for the whole general public to be doing it. There's sign-offs that need to be done for checking the financial aspects of the transactions and things like that. So we have, as I said, Kurt Van Riper and Stephen Coleman here leading the group right now. So if you have any questions, myself or Stephen and Kurt, be happy to answer.
Any questions from the board to begin with? One question: when in October, when will the public have access to this?
Well, again, we're looking at the initial internal launch of it beginning of October, and they're looking at 10 to 14 days to make sure that all the financial aspects of it are working properly and everything else. So it'll probably be the middle to the latter part of October that it'll be fully available for the public.
Any other questions from the board? Yes, Mr. Cahill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just curious, do we see a need for any increase in the budget?
Not at this point.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing no hands, we'll go to item 2, MV Aquina and MV Barnstable status.
Okay, and I think Mark A is remote, so he'll be brought over.
Good morning, everyone. Greetings from Methane Shipyard, just commencing the dry dock of the MV Martha's Vineyard. And but right now we're going to be the reporting of the Barnstable and Aquina project at Alabama Shipyard. Next slide, Sean. Okay, this is an aerial view of the vessel right now. We're getting near completion of phase 1 on the Barnstable and the Aquina. Following behind that. Next slide, please. This is a photograph of where we're installing the tonnage bulkheads to get the vessel under 1600 GRT. We're well along ahead of schedule on this on the tonnage bulkheads. And next slide, please. These are the tonnage bulkheads being installed in tank 4P. And these are installed in multiple ballast tanks simultaneously. Next slide. This is we're gutting out the on the main passenger area for the modification and conversion of the passenger area on the main freight deck level. Subsequent to this, we're pretty much completely ripped out of the main deck. Next slide, please. In anticipation of getting ready for the removal of the mid-body, this is a couple remaining electrical lines. All of them have been disconnected and rolled back in anticipation of the cutout. Next slide, please. So where we are right now, the contract with Alabama Shipyard at $13.7 million. We have approximately 113,000 in change orders, and right now we're on schedule and on budget. Just want to add that we're nearing the Aquina is probably about 3 weeks behind the Barnstable. That's purposely done. So if you find things you do better on one boat, you can apply them to the second vessel. And where we are, our demob part of this, the bulwarks are gone, the mud tanks are gone, removal of electric equipment and equipment like cranes, that's done, removal of electrical and communication lines. And we're scribed out and doing the laser alignment in anticipation of cutting out the mid-body. So I think probably the next meeting we'll probably have, we anticipate in November that the mid-body will be removed from the vessel. And we have completed all the U.S. Coast Guard statutory inspections of the hull, including the gauging surveys on the hull and the deck and all the internal inspections of the ballast tanks. So we're all in very good condition as anticipated. And that's, if anyone has any questions, be willing to discuss them.
Yes, Rob.
Yeah, a couple questions, Mark, thanks for that. What's the management structure for oversight of this project?
Okay, we have two people permanently on site. I'm down 1 to 2 weeks a month, and we have one quality control person from ASY on site as well. I mean, from our site, we're using Marine Safety Consultants as the company for doing our project management down there, and that's the setup.
Okay, thanks. Second question, and I'm sure there's an easy answer for this, but looking at the pictures, I don't see a lot of people.
Well, a lot of the work is internal, quite frankly, at this point. The bulkheads that are being installed down in the tanks, that's all internal. Majority of the work right now is the work on the main deck. If you remember in the initial phases of this, we removed all the bulwarks and all the crane equipment. All the external work is done in preparation for the cut. If you remember from the previous meeting, I believe was a about a 20 by 20-foot hole removed to get all the internal bulk tanks removed from the vessel. And that's done as well as on the Aquina. A lot of the work is right now is internal to the vessel. That's why you don't see as many people exterior at the moment.
Okay, I just know that the number of people on a project is one of the metrics for measuring progress. And just looking at the pictures, it looked like there weren't too many people. So just an observation, but I'm sure you know that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I mean,
None?
just,
I'm sorry, Nat?
sorry. No,
Nate?
go ahead, Bob, sorry.
I just want to point out, so, and Mark had it in his slides about the tonnage bulkheads that are being installed and, in kind of in response to Rob as well. That's a, kind of a confined space area, so there's not a lot of work instead of being done. It's a hot zone in terms of the welding and things like that. But all those tonnage bulkheads, that was a decision that, we looked at. And by adding those tonnage bulkheads, we'll be able to have this vessel subchapter H, which means that when we have freight loads on there, we won't be having the passenger cutoffs at a dramatically lower point than what the vessel will be capable of carrying. So those are all things that are going to be enhancing the product that we'll end up getting here. It's, it was a couple $1 million, I think, or close to $2 million to be adding those bulkheads, but over a 25-year, useful life of those vessels, and to be able to carry the full passenger complement, I think is critical. So,
You just
Yeah.
answered the question, one of my questions, Bob. What in the heck are those tonnage things? We've never heard that name. So you're making them into, correct me, Mark, IAH, what is the letter of the?
Well,
Chapter H.
yeah, the tonnage bulkheads are independent of that. What they allow is we have all of our licensed captains are a lot of them have to be under, for our manning to be similar to all the rest of the vessels, is to be under 1,600 gross registered tons. That's the principal reason for doing that. And as Bob reiterated, this vessel will be the subchapter H, which will be similar to the rest of the vessels in our fleet.
This is
The
great.
containment and the Gayhead right now are subchapter T, and those will be replaced by subchapter H vessels.
Yep. So we can carry passengers when we're below a certain depth of draft with, carry whatever the capacity of that vessel becomes, right?
The draft is not on these vessels with the configuration and not the same limitations as the other class of vessels, containment Gayhead, Sankaty.
This is a huge, huge benefit on both routes for different reasons, but yes. I don't have any questions, actually, if that was my question, but Bob brought that up. So thank you for everything you're doing, and I won't ask you any questions about timelines until probably January, I guess, or something. Whenever you think that what's going on, that's going to be really important to get the summer schedule that the bulks just went out yesterday or the day before for management to come up with a plan to, readjust a little bit the next summer. So hopefully they get here in time to where we can figure out how to load and they'll get all the bugs out before the summer schedule. Thank you so much, everyone, for this.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll go on to item 3, SQMS update, please.
Bridget, have Bridget Sullivan come up to provide an update.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As per usual, I have some exciting safety news. Next slide, Sean.
Hang on, sharing.
No worries.
Anyone see that?
Yes.
Excellent. So as you may have guessed, we are nearing the finish line with regards to our safety management objectives and satisfactorily completing our initial audits for all vessels.
No,
No, I stuttered.
okay.
Sorry, it's been a while. I get nerves again, you know. So starting tomorrow in Woods Hole, Rena will return to audit the motor vessels Island Home, Sankaty, and Governor. And then they will finish with the motor vessels in Hyannis, Woods Hole, Ino, and Gay Head. Once this phase is completed, our next ISM audit will be the intermediate audits, which will be in 2025. Next slide, please. To close out our ISO certificates, we have recently received our quality management system certificate. As of yesterday, I received our certificate holders with the intent to display our quality management certificates proudly at all locations in customer-facing areas. So that exciting news that I mentioned, well, by the end of the week, we should be fully certified with both our safety management system and quality management systems. Next slide, please. And as you can see, we are working within the scope of the original budget, with no change orders required. Any questions?
Congratulations.
Good job.
Very good job. Any
I
questions
would
from the
also
board?
like to echo my congratulations. These ISO, ISM certificates are not easy to get and reflect a great deal of effort on part of the Steamship Authority management to bring us up to the top level of maritime management. So congratulations.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Bridget.
We'll go to item 4, the IT review.
All right, so for the IT review, just a brief update here. Sean's bringing up the slides. Been some progress since last month when we updated the board and port council. Next. Again, the project itself is a comprehensive review of our systems, develop some guidance on how improvements and an assessment to form a strategic plan, roadmap for our IT functions. Next. Back in June, they started the kickoff, all the data requests, started the interview process, looking at our infrastructure and toured our facilities. Next. In July, they started doing some benchmarking versus other, the industries. They started to do some internal and external surveys were drafted, and they got some additional documentation regarding the new website. Next. Then in August, the beginning part here of September, they did launch the survey. They had some additional stakeholder interviews. They've been reviewing our security and our APIs. Started looking at a visioning session and an initial assessment documentation. Next. So going forward here over the next couple months, they'll be coming up with a identification of different options we should be cognizant of, and some working sessions. And then next, I think December, January, the draft report in December, opportunity to review that, and then a final presentation in January. And the budget for this was $245,000, and to date we've spent 105. So, anyone has any questions? Stephen, Kurt, myself will be happy to answer.
Bob, just before you took that off the screen, what percentage of the project is done? It's I couldn't read it.
It's about 40% of it, off the top of my head.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
No.
Go on to item B, C Street request for year-round license.
Okay, I'll have Terrence come over.
Yeah. Morning, gentlemen, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning, Terrence.
So, back on the 25th of August, C Street reached out to Bob and inquired about, running some additional service after Columbus Day. As in your packet, one of the three licensed services that it can provide is inter-island service, provided it doesn't conflict with Highline's service between May and Columbus Day. So what they're looking to do is after Columbus Day, they want to run 2 daily round trips through December 31st. That's every week. They want to do, and then after December 31st, they want to run just on the weekdays through April 18th, 2024. And then if the demand is there, they're floating the idea that they'll continue to provide service on weekends, but they wanted to see whether or not the demand is there. And just as a refresher for folks, if you don't recall, back I think around when their renewals were coming through in 21, we had some discussions amongst your group as well as with the board that New Bedford, there was a discussion as to whether it's commuters from New Bedford were going to be wanting to use their service. There's also discussions about getting more workers to the island so that it could meet the demands that the island has for service workers. So in any event, we reviewed this amongst our operational staff. The original schedule proposes some certain conflicts that we highlighted in your packet. So what we're asking the board council to do is to recommend that the service go forward, provided that C Street work out any scheduling conflicts that we might have in Vineyard Haven. And right now we've identified probably 3 or 4, I think. So with that, we'll put it to you. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Any questions from the board? Yes, Rob.
Yeah, hi, just, thanks, Terrence. I'm curious about the economics of this. I mean, it seems like a good idea, but court counsel's main job is understanding the finances of things. What is the economic benefit, and are there any associated costs?
There's no associated cost. We'll be open for business in Vineyard Haven anyway. The licensing program is there to meet demands if it's there. We'll get additional licensing revenue, and if it does work out, so it'll just continue on with this current license that we currently have with them. So I don't see any associated costs. I just see the potential for additional revenue in terms of licensing fees for the authority.
Any idea what that number would be?
Sure, Mr. Davis will pipe in with anything there.
John,
I apologize. I didn't get to read the whole report, Terrence. What are the conflicts? What are the conflicts that you have?
Well, for example, there was one, I think it was a 9:30 trip. I don't have it right here in front of me, John, but there was for example, so one of the problems we have is if C Street's in the slip or approaching the slip, the slips, I should say, the times we have 2 vessels in the slips. And so we have to work that out. We can't have that much traffic and confusion going on, especially where, you know, we're navigating and we don't want to have any collisions there in Vineyard Haven Harbor. So we just have to work those type of things out. And there weren't too many, but there, you know, it's a difference of 5 or 10 minutes that potentially causes a problem for the navigation and for the masters coming in and out of Vineyard Haven.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it's not only the conflicts with the slips, it's also conflicts in the channel. So,
Right.
you know, but I think that the biggest one was that there's actually no slip available at the time that they said that they were going to be at the dock. So
That's a problem.
Bob,
Yeah.
did they run these trips? Bob, did they run these trips before back in 2017, 2018 in the wintertime, if I remember?
They did.
yeah, it goes back farther than that, actually. back to the early 2000s, 2008, 2009. They used to run year-round service. They didn't carry very many passengers in the wintertime. Then they started to cut back on service. They eliminated January, and then January and February and December through March. As is indicated in the staff summary, back in 2021, they were actually looking to restart the year-round service model. The Port Council recommended it, the board approved it, and then the following day, I received a phone call from the owner of C Streak saying that they've revisited it and the economics of it just didn't fly, and that they're just going to continue to run their seasonal service at that time. So technically, under the vote that took place in 2021, they would be eligible to run this service, but because they hadn't for the past couple of years, we felt it appropriate to bring back to the Port Council and board. I think the other element of this is that when back then we advertised this in terms of if there's any public comment for it. We received no public comment back in 2021 regarding the year-round service element of it. So seeing that C Streak was looking to start this up in October, we didn't have if we had advertised it, this wouldn't be coming to you until the October, probably November meeting, actually. So we curtailed that, and unless the Port Council and board feels otherwise, whether we need to go through that process. But again, in 2021, there was no public comment either for or against it. So
I know I remember going down and picking up several of the judiciary that used to take that boat during the daytime, especially a lot of lawyers, because they would practice in New Bedford at the courthouse there when we were not in session here. So I remember a lot of workmen coming off that boat when I'd be down there. I think it's a very good idea. This requires a vote, Bob.
We'll be looking for the Port Council's recommendation for the board. Yes.
Okay. I'll take a motion to recommend this to the board.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second,
Nat,
aye.
John,
Cahill, aye.
Bud,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Rob,
Aye.
and Joe Salito, aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now go to the treasurer's report. A business summary for the month of July.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
It's a business summary for the month of July. Passengers for the month of July in the Vineyard route were down just over 3,900 passengers, or 1.1%. The Nantucket route was down 9.6% and just under 8,300 passengers. Conventional ferry was up while the high-speed ferry was down. Putting this together for the month of July, we're down 2.8% overall, or 12,202 passengers. Year to date, both routes combined are up 2.6%, or just under 40,500 passengers. On this slide, you can see the monthly comparison of passenger ridership this year compared to last year. Passenger vehicle traffic for the month of July was also down on the Vineyard route, 0.9% of 543 vehicles. The standard for autos were down, 1,554 vehicles, while all the other categories were up. On the Nantucket route, all categories were up, equating to 4.1% increase over last year. Putting both routes combined, we're down 0.2%, or 112 vehicles. Year to date, we're up 0.6% combined on both routes to 1,861 passenger vehicles. And these are one-way trips. Here's the monthly comparison for the passenger vehicles. Freight vehicles on the Vineyard route, we're down 1.6%. On the Nantucket route, we're down 2.9%. And combined, we're down just under 200 vehicles, 2.1%.
Year to date, we're up 4.6% or 2,544 vehicles. And again, these are one-way traffic. Here's the monthly comparison, year to year. Here's our total vehicle traffic for the month of July, for all days of the week. This is for the freight traffic. For the weekday, as you can see in the morning, and then here's the weekend. And you can see the volume is much less on the weekend than the weekdays. Cars parked, similar to the passengers, were down for the month of July. The Vineyard route was down 1.7%. The Nantucket route was down 12.8%. Both roads combined were down 3.9% or 1,121 cars. For the year to date, we're up 3.6% or 3,171 cars for both routes combined. Here's the comparison by month, the cars parked. Trip summary. On the Vineyard route, for the month of July, we had 8 trips canceled for mechanical, 4 for weather, 8 for traffic, and 6 for crewing. On the Nantucket route, we had no trips for mechanical, weather, or traffic, but 64 for crewing. Putting this combined, the year-to-date totals, we have 69 trips canceled for mechanical, 116 for weather, 158 for traffic, 108 for crewing. And in purple below each category, you can see the comparison for year-to-date totals of all the trips that ran. Financial snapshot for the month of July, operating revenue of $19,916,000 was lower than budget by $102,000. Operating expenses of $10,969,000 was lower than budget by $556,000. Combining this with the other income and the deductions, we have a net operating income of $9,427,000, which was higher for the month by $836,000. Year to date, we are operating at net income now for through July. We have a net income of $8,974,000, which is higher than budget by $7.6 million. And that number should that variance should decrease as we get to the end of the year. So we realize some of these expenses that we thought we were going to realize earlier in the year. On the operating revenue, we can see the passenger revenue is down as reflective of the quantities. $300,000, just under $300,000 for the month of 5.6%, bringing the monthly total down just under $102,000 or 0.5%. Year to date, we're still up operating revenue of 0.4% at $280,000. And here's the breakdown where the operating revenue comes for the month of July and January through July. Operating expenses, fuel oil for the month of July was at $3.23. We budgeted $3.90. We had a $287,000 savings for the month. Year to date, fuel oil we're down about $1,591,000. For the month, we're down $556,000 in operating expenses. And year to date, we're down $4.2 million. And we're going to start realizing some more. The maintenance numbers will be catching up with some of these projects. Here's a breakdown by month for the operating expenses. A snapshot for the month of August, both routes combined for the first 3 weeks were down 3.5% or 10,557 passengers. Just got the complete numbers last night, and we're down 4.4% for both routes combined for the month of August. Vehicles carried on the Vineyard route were down 3.1% for the first 3 weeks. On the Nantucket route, the total vehicles were down 2.1%. But for the total month of August, the Vineyard route was down 1.8%, and the Nantucket route was the same 2.1% increase. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has on the business summary for the month of July.
Matt?
Yeah, just Mark, you just got to mention the 7:30. Those numbers, yeah, it's like an asterisk issue, right? So.
Yeah. So we don't have that fifth trip, and normally off the top of my head, I think it's about 15% of the traffic, and that's where the big driver is on that. The fast carry numbers being down. They're down total, but that number is leading that. That's being offset by decreased cost in fueling and other issues as well. So we're not taking the total hit on the revenue side. We have some expenses to offset that as well.
Correct. Thank you.
Mark, how was Scudder? Is Scudder's passengers down both for Nantucket and the Vineyard?
Give me 1 second.
They're down on the Vineyard side by 9.7%. But they're up on the Nantucket side by 8.3%. But you know, in August, in July, for instance, their increase was in, you know, because of our decrease on the high-speed service.
Yeah, okay. Because I was reading somewhere even travel to Europe has been down. I'm just wondering if we're getting the effect of that also.
And unfortunately, we haven't had the best forecast weather either. And just as much as the weather's the forecast of the day trippers as well as the foot passengers.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Joe,
Go to item.
Joe?
I'm sorry, Rob.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Yeah. And Mark, always appreciate this. Think back to when we just looked at tables of numbers and you then sort of teased out the important stuff. Now we've got it nicely summarized. I guess some question is the slide with the trips and the cancellation reasons and whatnot, given our efforts now for quality improvement, safety improvement and whatnot, do you have in your, certainly the data's there, do you have a way of comparing those numbers with previous years that would make our understanding of how we're doing clearer if we were able to compare, the number of mechanicals, the number of crew issues, whatever, as compared to previous, just like you do with the financial numbers, comparing it to 2022. Is there that possibility? And I'm not saying every month, but maybe quarterly or some period of time, looking at how we're doing on those sort of quality metrics.
Sure. And normally I have that handwritten on my sheets, what the previous year was, and I apologize. I've been mainly focusing on the budget. Next month I'll have that comparison is for the first 8 months of the year.
And Rob, and for the Marine Ops group, we track KPIs as far as 835s for mechanicals. And that's tracked. We have our weekly ops meeting and that's part of our weekly meeting every week.
Terrific. Great. Well, maybe if we just have some visibility of that occasionally, that'd be helpful, but thank you. Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Any other questions from the board? Okay, going to item B, the preliminary draft of the 2024 operating budget.
Joining me is Cornell Oliveira. She's the assistant treasurer. Courtney and I prepared your budget, and she'll be doing a lot of the presentation today. So for the 2024 budget, go over some of the assumptions we used. Baseline revenues we used the previous 12 months, meaning from August 22nd, 2022 to July 2023. That's what the actual traffic numbers we're using to indicate what we're looking for revenues for next year based on current pricing. Fuel costs, we're expecting them to decrease about 14% at 1.8 million. We're hedged though 95% of our fuel costs for next year. We're budgeting $3.35 a gallon versus $3.93. Inflation for the last 12 months are looking at 3.2%. And the operating budget is based on the 2024 approved operating schedule, which is that's driving the crew cost, the staffing levels, the fuel usage and everything like that. So with that, Courtney will go into some details about the budget.
Okay. The 2024 budget has operating revenues of 137.7 million and operating expenses of 137.5 million. Other income totals 9.9 million. While other expenses total 4.1 million for a bottom line of just over 6 million. Significant operating expense changes, budget versus budget
for 2024 are increases to training totaling almost 348,000. This increase is due to the licensed deck officer training program, crew familiarization training, in addition to our normal training schedules that include STCW, cybersecurity, etc. Next, we have an increase in our insurance expense of more than 381,000. Operation of terminals has an increase of 935,000, primarily due to utility expense increases. General expense is an increase of 2 million. This number includes the 348,000 in training that we highlighted in the first bar graph. In addition to the increases in this category is pension, health and welfare, and also credit card charges due to the increase in card usage over cash. Maintenance expense increase of 3 million, and our next slide has more details on this. The 2024 budget includes the dry docking of 4 vessels next year, for a total cost of just over 6 million. The Nantucket, the Eagle, the Island Home, and the INO will all be dry docked. Maintenance expense budget for terminals, dolphins, and docks totals 3.8 million. Projects include siding and trim replacement to the terminal in Hyannis, as well as design and engineering to the pump out system at that location. In Vineyard Haven, there will be repairs to the slips, and pier decking repairs have been budgeted for Oak Bluff. Here we are showing the operating revenue variances between 2024 and 2023 budgets. Passenger revenue is up 1.5 million or 4.4%. Parking revenue is up 26,000 or 0.3%. Freight revenue is up 289,000 or 0.7%. And auto revenue is down 1.6 million or 3.6%. The increase in passenger revenue in the 2024 budget is due to the 2023 budget was using 5 months of 2021 traffic statistics, which we know is still a time period that was being impacted by COVID. And then the decrease in auto revenue is due to the overall quantity of vehicles traveling, in addition to a decrease in the number of standard fare vehicles versus the number of excursion fare vehicles. This graph shows the 2024 budgeted net income by month. You guys have seen this before. We operated a deficit for the first 4 months. We make money May through October and lose money again in the months of November and December. The cumulative net income line shows that we have our largest cumulative net loss in April at about 16 million. We have a maximum net income of about 13 million in October, before settling to a net income for the year of just over 6 million. Any questions regarding the proposed operating budget? Mark and I would be happy to answer them.
That last graph is always really scary.
Any questions? Nat?
I really don't have any specific questions. I think it sort of just unveils, and sort of proves that we operate like a private company. I mean, we need to make money to operate, and everything affects us just like it does anyone else in business. It's not, fuel prices, labor, training, whatever it is adds up. And that's one of the why I talk about utilization of trips, making sure we try to fill these boats when there's room on the boat. But there's people that want to go on the boat, but they can't get on the boat, but there's room on the boat. Like, every space counts, every passenger counts to the end of the year. So I really appreciate what you guys do. I appreciate, all the detail and explanation. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
And this is for information purposes, Joe. And, now we have the second half, the proposed rate adjustments.
Yes, that's what okay.
All right.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I'll pull it up. Okay, so why do we need rate adjustments? We're looking at the maintenance costs this year increasing by $3 million, as Courtney pointed out, at 12.9%. We do the vessel dry docks and terminal maintenance expenses, projecting these out as far as 18 months in advance schedule. This year in the budget, we did include some inflationary costs for the second half of the year because we're so far out as far as the costing goes. And in the PowerPoint, we have 4 boats on the budget for dry docks this year, compared to 5, because we will not be dry docking the Katama this year with the new boats arriving. Additionally, we're looking at bringing some expenses that were originally in the 2024 budget into the 2023 budget. We'll have at the board meeting for approval some spares and some engine parts coming in for the budget. Training costs increasing by $350,000, 48.2%. We'll talk about that in another slide. And then we have an increase in insurance costs of 7.9%. On the next slide here, we can see the budget maintenance expenses as a comparison of how and where we're spending the money per year in comparison. And here's the training expenses, and we're seeing a big push in 2024. 2 of the big programs we're allocating money for this year is one is the getting more licensed deck-up officers, pilots, and captains, as well as getting more ABs on the boats. Additional is the familiarization for the new vessels coming in. We're going to have to get our crews trained on these vessels and familiarized before they operate. So those are the 2 main drivers in addition to the annual training that we do. So the bottom line, our target was just under 9.2 million, where on the original budget without any fare adjustments, we're at 6 million. So we need roughly $3.18 million in revenue, where 1.8 million will come from the Vineyard route and just under 1.4 from the Nantucket route. And how we derive on the differentiation between the 2 routes and who's paying for what is we look at a 7-year of actual experience, then we look at the budget, look at the estimate, the previous 8 years, we have a 10-year quarter and see who's paying what share. So that's how we differentiate where the money's coming from. So one route's not carrying the other route. So in this slide, this is the bottom line of where the fare increases are, fare adjustments being proposed. No adjustments for the walk-on passengers, no adjustments for the excursion rate vehicles, just under 2.4 million for the standard fare vehicles, freight vehicles, about 700,000, and the parking permits on the Vineyard route, just under 80,000. On the Vineyard route, we're proposing for the standard fares, a $2 increase, which will bring it from $98 to $100 from April 1st through May 14th, and from September 15th to October 31st. On the peak season, which is May 15th through September 14th, $9 increase on the Monday through Thursday, and a $10 increase on the Friday through Sunday. That would bring from 101 to 110 and from 125 to $135 respectively. Auto coupon books are derivative of the standard fare pricing, so that would be adjusted accordingly. Parking permits at Woods Hole would be adjusted by $75, and Palm Ave would be $50. And again, you can see the categories. We're not recommending any changes to the passengers, excursion, freight, or daily fee parking on the Vineyard route. For the Nantucket route, recommending standard fare vehicles in the peak season only. That's the May through September rate, be adjusted $15 Monday through Thursday and $25 on the weekend. That would go from $260 to $275 and from $295 to $320 respectively. Again, the coupon book prices are tied into the fee, the standard fare prices, so those would be adjusted. And then we'd have a 4% increase on the freight over 20 feet in all. On the Nantucket route, the freight vehicles only covering 82% of the cost of service, as the report we had earlier in the year, and that would get them more into balance. So here's a graph on the deck utilization for 2022. We have the revenue in light blue in the Vineyard, the dark blue is the spaces. The shaded red is revenue for Nantucket, and the spaces for Nantucket. You can see how each category, the space they're using compared to what they're paying. Here's a graph showing where the fare adjustment, proposed fare adjustments would come from. 76% would come from the standard fare, 3% from the parking permits, and 21% from the freight. Here's a graph that still looks pretty similar to what Courtney proposed, showed without the fare adjustments. For the first 4 months, we lose money, make money for the next, in the middle, and then we lose money at the end. Barbell situation. And a couple other financial impacts and some house cleaning that we're gonna do, and it'll be in the final budget right up next month. We want to adjust the freight and wharfage, the wharfage rates in Nantucket in the water, where it's not, the water's coming out less than what we pay for, so we want to adjust those to market conditions. We want to change the ship truck cancellation policy from 6 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. in the morning. And then there's a shellfish and cranberry rate, but it doesn't help the under 25-foot vehicles, the pickup trucks. And we want to adjust that rate to be the same percentages of what the other rates are for the freight, for the cranberry and shellfish that are coming off island. You know, so it has to originate on island and go back. So that's the export. So those are some housekeeping items that we will address. They're not going to materially or really affect the budget at all. It's just policy things that need to be cleaned up.
Any questions? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Mark, maybe I missed something. I just have a couple questions. On one slide, when you talked about Martha's Vineyard route, there was no increase in freight cost, right?
That is correct.
And then later on, you show overall an increase of 21% in freight. Where's it then coming from?
That's from the Nantucket route. So their adjustment is half on the summer cars and half on the freight. So, so there's $700,000 in the Nantucket route freight that's incorporated into that $3 million roughly.
And what's the logic behind not increasing freight on the Vineyard route?
So the Vineyard route, your trucks are covering more of your cost of service, significantly more than the Nantucket route, and it's trying to balance out the cost of service for the vehicles.
I like it when Nat picks up the bill more than we do over on the Vineyard, but the other side of the point is, I think the freight companies also have the deeper pockets. You know, I would propose listening to or talking about an increase in the Vineyard Haven route for the freight. Just to throwing it out there.
Okay.
Can I just
Rob?
make a comment on that
All right.
for a second?
Okay, you're good, Nat.
I'm just sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to jump in there. So, John, something I used to say before you were appointed to this wonderful institution here. The freight spreads out the costs. Like everybody has to eat, right? Like everything comes on the boat. Fuel, it doesn't matter, everything. So it theoretically is the most balanced way to add costs or add revenue. But like what Mark's talking about is the whole Flathers report stuff, you know, with the whole cost of service. But like the summer car pays most of the bill, but we keep raising it. So right. There is an argument. Your point is valid. I'm just making it, you know, if we had to make the excursion rate the break even, we wouldn't have an excursion rate anymore. It'd be gone. So I think that the point about the trucks, I think it sort of just kind of depends on what year it is, depends on other factors and allocations and, you know, that kind of stuff. But what will we mark? What, 85% on trucks or 90? We used to be floating around the high 80s.
Yeah, so last year you were 82.3%, and Vineyard was over 100%. You were as high as 89% in the last 5 years. So not including the COVID year, that was in the 70%. So the percentage of the trucks are paying for is significantly lower than the entire run, trying to rebalance those a little bit compared to the other vehicles.
And how do you put the hazardous rate in? Is that all part of the truck? Does that all get bundled in?
Yes, we look at the average revenue per vehicle and how many vehicles we carry, et cetera, and then we have a formula behind the scenes to make those calculations.
Okay.
Thank you. Rob, you had a question?
Yeah, I guess, question, comment. It looks to me like over the last couple of years, the number of cars has not grown. And I don't know if that's because of demographics or because of the price or because people have a different strategy, but you may not realize the revenue you're expecting based on an increase in the auto traffic. So I think, point one. Second thing would be the opposite is the case with trucks. They have continued to increase, at a regular rate of 3 to 5% a year. So there is more opportunity there. So picking up on John's point, where's the money? I would hate to find that by increasing the auto rate, you continue to decrease its use as a revenue source because it becomes, that much more expensive. I'm not sure what the reason is than the reduction of auto traffic. I think it's a combination of things, but if you make it more expensive, that certainly will become an additional factor.
And I think it was the third slide, Rob, was that we were expecting a decrease in automobile revenue next year for the factors that you mentioned, especially we're rebalancing back to the proportion of excursions to standard fares, where we had a peak during COVID, where it was going down, no one really wanted to come off, and now we're getting back to normal traffic patterns.
Mr. Chair, just a quick sort of, I don't know if Rob missed the meeting when I said this before, but okay, so cars are in garages now. They're already here. Okay, so the summer car of the past used to come on the boat almost every trip. I mean, there were summer cars parked here, but not like now. I mean, you've got garages with 2 to 3 vehicles in them with their little trickle charges, all set for the people's arrival, not necessarily by a vessel, but by an airplane. You have that, what's that thing called, Markturo or whatever it is, right? People are renting their own car to someone that comes to visit. So the car's already here, already on either island. So the vehicles, the summer car is becoming sort of like going from the regular traditional box seat at Fenway, and they're kind of moving up to the skybox with, food service. I mean, it's kind of changed a little bit, but you're not wrong, Rob, about what you're saying. It's just that is what's causing the flatness part. Now, if you talk to an islander and say there's less cars coming, they'll think you're nuts and probably, just walk away from you and think you're like lost your minds. But the vehicles are already on the islands now. It's like everything's coming out of the garage, starts up, and suddenly going down the road. I mean, that's just how it is, and we're seeing it here on these numbers. So
yeah,
the good side,
I recall you
side
meant.
of it.
I recall
The
you
good
mentioning.
side, though, is that we don't need that. It lessens the need for more service, which is a good thing in that area, because trucks will always increase because there's more stuff.
Yeah. The other, I think, related point is, to the extent the public would dig into this, is the public perception associated with putting the increase on cars rather than on trucks.
Any other question? Just as a comment, John, to you, if we raise the price on trucks, the people on the vineyard are going to be paying for that because they're only going to pass the cost on to us. If it takes more to get the truck on with the gas, fuel prices are going to go up to cover that cost.
Hey, Mark, do you have a question, Mr. Chair?
Yeah. Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Rialston has his hand up for a little bit now.
I didn't see it. I'm sorry. He's not on screen. Go ahead, Bud.
I just had one question with regard to the budget on dry docking costs. You had 4 regularly scheduled ones, but with all the recent shoaling in Hyannis Harbor, we were getting some emergency dry docking. Is that taken into consideration?
So the two of those boats are the Eagle and the Nantucket. So those that regularly operate in there. So the other one that regular operates would be Woods Hole. That's not in the budget for next year, but the other two are.
Thank you.
But I apologize, you weren't up on the screen, so I couldn't see you.
That's okay. I was in the sunlight. I couldn't see anything, so.
John, you had your hand up?
Yeah, if I may, thank you, Mr. Chair. Rob, is there a way to, or Mark, I'm sorry, Mark Rosen, is there a way to understand, and maybe not today, but put something together where we're looking at what types of vehicles come to the islands that are providing goods and services versus those that originate on Martha's Vineyard or Nantucket? So what's the inflow of, let's say, a FedEx or a UPS truck or a furniture delivery vehicles or new construction materials versus somebody on the island trying to get off to for septic?
Yeah, so we can get a list without company names of the commodity, and then no, not the company name.
No, so in terms of the commodities, we don't know if it's a hazardous truck or whether it's a general freight, so we don't necessarily know. We don't have a differential whether they're carrying food versus whether they're carrying, merchandise to put for a store and things like that. So we would have those numbers, but we don't have a breakdown on terms of those commodities. Even with the hazardous, we don't have a breakdown as to whether it's gasoline or propane or whatever. So that's the information that we have available. And I think part of this, we've been running the same schedule now for the past 5 years, effectively, 5-6 years, and it ends up being a zero, net gain. Where you see that there's some decrease in some of the automobile traffic, you may see a slight increase in the number of trucks and vice versa. So, it's really, particularly in the summertime, our occupancy is so high on during that time period that, something has to give for the other to take the space. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll go on to the next item, which is old new business.
So if I may, I think you do plan on having budget open houses, if you have those days?
Yeah, so we're looking tentatively right now for September 27th, the day after the board meeting. We just got to clear a couple things up on the schedule, but looking at having an AM and a PM virtual meeting on September 27th. And as we finalize that date, we'll let it out. But that's what we're have penciled in right now.
Thank you, Mark. Anything else, Bob, on that?
No, I think that was my chirping in.
That's fine. Thank you. Item number 4, old new business, the general manager's review. We'll start off probably with Nat. Do you have any comments on that to begin with?
Are we on old and new business or the?
Old and new business?
Okay. I just want to say thank you from Nantucket to management, the crews, everybody involved to get that 7:30, 8:45 plugged back in. Rob and I would not have survived that fallout if that boat didn't come back. There would have been no place to hide. Very important to understand lifeline type service issues versus summer. There's just another boat to get on. Which boat do I go to? Totally different. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows how appreciative we all are over here for this to have been reset back in to the schedule through October 23rd. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nat. Okay, now going to the general manager review. We'll start off with you, Nat. That's all right.
Yeah, I sent mine in to Janice. I just, I give Bob great score. We're very fortunate to have someone that has this much knowledge of how the business functions and from past to present. You know, with somebody like me that's been around as long as I have, I've seen what happens when someone from inside the steamship is not move up into the position. When Barry Fuller retired, we went through quite a run of let's try something different. And that didn't really work. So of all the things that go wrong along the way through each year, the unforeseen stuff, yes, there's some preventable stuff too. We're very fortunate to have Bob and his team at the helm of the steamship. I don't know what else you want me to say, Joe. My score for Bob, or what do you want to do? Just have a verbal situation?
It's a verbal, yeah, just a comment on what you did, or if you want to give what score you gave him.
I gave him a 96.
Okay. Thank you. I'll go down to Bud.
Bud, I sent in my review to Janice as well, and I thought Bob has done an outstanding job of given everything that's been going on in this past year or so. And I gave him generally an outstanding, but and a score of 90%.
Thank you.
I could go into details if someone wants.
Okay. It's up to you, and this is your chance to have your say, but thank you. Mark?
Yes, I also sent in my score and review. I thought Bob and his team did an excellent job this past year, looking at the projects that were worked on during the year. Overwhelmingly, they were done on time and for the most part under budget. However, I as is the nature of evaluation, sometimes you tend to focus on the negative, and two negative things that came up during the year that were the issue of the delays with problems with the website improvements and the estimates related to the refurbishing of the two new boats. But even with that, I thought Bob did an excellent job, and I ranked him 87%.
John?
All right, thanks, Mr. Chair. First, I agree with what Nat had to say. We're very fortunate to have Bob and his team together as leading us through this. But I do want to call out a couple of things that are important. I don't want to go through my whole evaluation publicly, but I want to make out a couple of things that lead to my reasons for my my overall evaluation. The first one is that on item 3, which we talked about, freight transportation service, I think we don't want to do this like a one and done. We didn't get any proposals back that to go forward with. We need to continuously look at this option, and also need to understand that, as we mentioned earlier, freight transportation will slowly increase in the years ahead. So I think it's paramount that the steamship also improves the way in which they put together a proposal. I found the proposal on the freight RFP to be constrictive or not inviting, or not a dialogue that was established. So resulting in the fact that we didn't have anybody respond. So, and I don't think the Steamship Authority has the major role in this, but they have a role. And I think they should join hands with Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard to really be looking at innovative ways to look at the freight problem. So that was one. And then the other one I just want to comment on is, the website to me is something that I've always been involved with in my career in the past. And I've mentioned this many times with the team at the Steamship Authority. And I find that, we all now know that I'll just read my comments, that the HMS study of 2018 addressed the IT concerns that in my mind have not been addressed. So here we are 5 years later, still struggling by having to drag this legacy reservation system into the 21st century. And it's unfortunate. It's like dragging an old rusty anchor. And you'll continue to be dragged down until you address this issue of the reservation system. And I just want to close out on that by saying technology plays a major role in the future in the Steamship Authority. And I would encourage you guys to increase your observations of how to improve it. And then the final thing I just want to say, and here we go. In the same on goal number 10 about improving community relations and opportunities for public engagement, myself, other Port Council members and the board, some members of the board have asked for years to both privately and publicly to address this issue of improving marketing communications, and nothing was done. And I really think we have a wonderful story to tell, where we're not getting the message out. And I know recently, Bob, you've made some changes, and I know that will make things improve, but we need to keep putting the foot down on the accelerator on that one. So in closing, my overall score was actually 70%. Thank you.
Thank you. Rob?
Yeah, thanks. I think if you look at 2022, 2023, a good operational year, good financial year, starting to see the HMS recommendations bear fruit. So I think all those are good things. I will say that my bar is higher now, particularly now that we have a COO that should be able to handle a lot of the day-to-day, and it allows Bob then to be focusing on things more strategic. But if I look at the list of goals, really we only accomplished half of them. And John has identified several that, I would say haven't been accomplished. And that's obviously one of the metrics we're using. It's the metric we're using at this point. That's the list we have to go by. And I agree with John about the New Bedford thing that I believe we just didn't put out an attractive proposal. And that's really critical. We have to court vendors and contractors to do these types of projects. And I don't think that happened. And I think there are some creative ways that we could make that happen. And it's interesting, we didn't get bidders for the terminal building and the utility building, and that we're going to, restart that process. The website, John's mentioned that. I think the elephant in the room is the new ships. Those that, if you look at the way the goal was written, we pulled the trigger on buying the new ships before we even were going to have the goal accomplished of what our plan for vessels were. Now, I realize that's, bird in hand was, the theory, but here we are, with a project that, at least getting off the ground is going to be significantly overrun. It already is. So I think my bar is higher this year for the reasons that I've stated, and hopefully the general manager, the COO is going to help to allow us to really tackle these day-to-day problems, but also give Bob the bandwidth to really work on the strategies. So my rating was 75.
Thank you. I'm just going to preface my remarks. I think probably I may be the most critical here. My report stands for what it stands for, and I've just written up a little something here. I've just got a comment on goal number 13, which asks about quarterly reports on the progress of the general manager's goals. And I think that these quarterly reports should probably be sent out in written form separately than just being done at the meeting. But I think the general manager is extremely knowledgeable of the workings and history of the Steamship Authority and has a loyal and hardworking staff. Hopefully with the new COO, the general manager will start to delegate some of his responsibilities. There's a serious problem with communications, both internally and externally, with the Board of Governors, Port Council, agents, dock personnel, and traveling public. I find more about boat cancellations and other problems involving the Steamship Authority from phone calls, from merchants, from islanders, and from islanders talk long before I receive emails or texts from management about these problems. Jim, John, and I have a long history, speaking for the Vineyard, of public service We see islanders every day and hear their complaints at restaurants, Stop and Shop, or social events. One of their chief complaints is communication in response to their concerns. Management is in Falmouth. It is not among the customers and traveling public that they serve. Nat Lowell is absolutely correct when he states islanders want the boat to run when they want to go off island and when they want to get home. On the Vineyard Run in 2022, 97.4% of the time the boats did run. Excuse me. It's that 2.6% or 380 trips when the boat does not run or is late, when islanders miss doctor's appointments, plane flights, special occasions. Also note that there were 307 boat diversions from Oak Bluffs to Vineyard Haven during the 2022 period. Management reacts to problems and situations. They do not anticipate them. Staffing shortages, substantial cost overruns on almost all projects, and projected time periods to complete these projects, specifically vessel replacements and website. As general manager, Mr. Davis has to accept some of this responsibility and most of this responsibility. I also want to inquire of IT on the original form that we get sent out. There were 14 goals. On the one that was sent out on the 22nd of June, there was only 13. Goal 12 on the original one was about developing a plan to aid in the hiring of a successor of the general manager. That was not included on the most recent one. And my only other comment to IT would be maybe one of the ratings should be acceptable and not mid-acceptable. For those reasons, I gave Mr. Davis a score of 70. Any other comments from the board? Nat, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, my new iPad is different where the little mute thing is. So I'm going to respond to a couple of these points that you guys have brought up, and I'm just going to try to make it like I'm a nuts and bolts kind of guy, okay? And I'm not saying that some of these things that you've brought up aren't real, they're not true, etc. They don't have an effect, etc. But I'm going to give you something that like no one thinks about this, right? So the third slip in Woods Hole, the spare boat. When you have a breakdown, you guys got a spare boat now. Most of the time that, I understand that it can't just get started up in 2 seconds and replace the exact trip that is missed. But back in the day, that boat had to come out of Fairhaven. In the Nantucket route, we now have a boat sitting there in the winter, tied up cold with shore power and the high-speed slip. We never had that. That's huge, but nobody knows, nobody's saying, oh, great, we got a spare boat, but we never had it. It's almost like talking about today's issues with somebody that's in their 30s that doesn't know what we used to deal with. You have to be around a while. So there are a lot of issues. No one brought up the crewing issue that is, I don't even know if there's any blame for it because it's happening with truck drivers, it's happening with pilots, airlines, etc., licensed, like in what I do for a living, plumbers, everybody's older. At my continuing ed meetings, they're getting older. We make jokes about it. Like, where's the young guy at the meeting? Oh, he hasn't got 8,000 hours yet to even get a license. Like, things are really hard to do now. The jobs that require professional licensure, you can't have personal problems. You can't have a weed problem. You can't be an alcoholic. You can't be even a mild alcoholic. You have to be perfect to have these jobs. It's not like the old days. And so I think that the steamship is slow to react to some of this stuff. I do agree with that, but they're doing it, and they're doing the best they can to retain more licensed deck officers. But this, I don't think anyone could have foreseen that this was happening because it's happened with other industries. I think, so as far as the communication stuff goes, I mean, there is issues with some of that. Like when you have an airplane cancellation, or nowadays, I mean, you go to the airport and you get like 3 texts from your airline telling you what's going on with the plane you're getting on. It's kind of crazy how it happens. I don't expect that to happen with the steamship, but there are a lot of improvements that can happen with text information through the IT or through wherever it comes from. So there's always room for improvement. I can find a whole bunch of things to complain about, but I like doing it on the phone. I like talking to management to try to fix some of these things. One of the issues that we have now, and I don't even know how to describe it with a specific comment, but policy reboot, I will call it that. We have a lot of policies that we've already fixed that get forgotten by new terminal staff. It happens a lot. That's not, it's just, that isn't a criticism. It's just sort of happens. And we need to work on those things too. And I think that that stuff is all part of the COO position and some of the new people. But that COO position isn't Bob Davis with his institutional knowledge. It's gonna take time for Mark to learn all these things, and he is learning. He's reaching out to us and talking to us about stuff like that. So I think in the next year or two, I think you're gonna see a lot of these things resolve, but we can't forget the improvements that have been made to things that we forget, like that spare boat stuff, which is really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Nat. Anybody else would like to make a comment? Yes, Mark.
I'd just like to talk about next steps or where we go from here. But before I do, I didn't give mention to what I think was a major success in the past year, and that's the SQMS program that I think is a major success for the Steamship Authority. It's going to benefit us significantly going forward. But having said that, I assume we will, one of the next steps will be developing goals and objectives for the upcoming year. So we do this evaluation on an annual basis. And I would just like to suggest that perhaps the evaluation tool be expanded. So it's just not the review of how well they've accomplished specific goals, but also a more subjective portion where we rate the manager in terms of his management abilities, his communication style, things that are more subjective in nature, but are very important, I think, in evaluating the overall performance of the manager. And I've seen that in other performance evaluation systems.
Any other comments? I just want to say there's always room for improvement. And I think we have room for improvement here. And I'm sure that with the next coming year, a lot of these issues that we're bringing up today will get done. I think that, I know we all make phone calls and ask that certain things to be done, but the public doesn't know what we're asking of Mr. Davis sometimes. And I think we have to publicly do that so the public knows that we're fulfilling our responsibility, both as Port Council and the Board of Governors is fulfilling their responsibility. And with that, is there any other comment or any other thing to be brought before the meeting? Do we have any public comment?
If I may, Mr. Saliba.
Go ahead.
So I appreciate all the feedback that the Port Council is providing during this and their review. I think some of the takeaway here is that it's a team, and all the successes that we have are because of the team that we have here. So I just want to point that out. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but sometimes perspectives are different. So we'll continue to work on that.
No, I agree with you. And as I think I stated in the beginning, that you do work very hard and you're very knowledgeable and you have a very good team and they're very, very loyal to you, Bob. They're very, very loyal to you. And this is not a criticism. This is just an evaluation of how, after 2.5 years of being on the board, that I see things. And that's just my opinion, and I think it's the, you know, we each have our own opinion. But thank you. Any public comment?
Yeah, Denton Murray, Longacre.
Thank you. First, I would like to just say that while it isn't always smooth sailing, if you'll forgive the pun, for the Steamship Authority, I appreciate the dedication of the team that you have in management. So let me just add that to the comments previously. But I'm here today to give you an update on the NOPSCA's remaining parts. You may remember a couple months ago, I let you know that those needed to find a new home. So I have some good news and an ask. The good news is that we have heard from the board of the New England Wireless and Steam Museum that they want to pursue the acquisition of the NOPSCA's engine. Not only that, but they intend to reassemble it and create a working model so that it can be available to the public, which is wonderful news. And I'm just, you know, so very grateful for all the people that helped to make that a possibility. One of the challenges of continuing to preserve the NOPSCA's artifacts is that they all need to be removed from their current location. And so having accomplished a destination for the engine was a major first step. The second large step are the 3 lifeboats that exist. They're 28 feet long, and so they're, you know, not insignificant in size. And so I'm looking for any assistance in connecting with an organization that could either store them temporarily or permanently or exhibit them. Not necessarily all 3 in the same destination. They could be split up to separate destinations. So specifically for the Port Council members, if you know anybody in your community that would be able to assist specifically with the lifeboats or more generally with this effort overall, that would be appreciated. And if the Steamship Authority itself has any ability to either store or exhibit one or more of the lifeboats, of course, I would be, you know, happy to hear about that as well. I know that Sean Driscoll and Nat Lowell and Rob Rainey all have my contact information. And for those who are interested, I do have a website, marylongacre.com/nopsca.html, if you want pictures and more of the story. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Anybody else, Sean?
No, that's all.
Sean.
Oh, sorry. We have one person in person, Carolina Tooley.
Hi, I'm Caroline Queen. I'm the Executive Director of the Martins Vineyard Chamber of Commerce. And I just want to thank the council and the steamship for passing the C Street initiative. We've been working hard with business groups on the island to try to address some workforce issues. So this is just a little thing that we can add to the toolkit. Certainly not a solution, but hopefully it will help alleviate some of those problems that we've been having on the island. And I also wanted to comment about the idea of the freight increase. I understand the needs for the profitability, but there definitely would be a concern that the freight companies would pass those costs on to the islanders, and we are already struggling with high costs as residents on the island.
Now I think we're done. Sorry.
Anybody else? Any other comments from the board? With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Bud, so moved.
Go.
Second,
Nat,
aye.
John,
Cahill, aye. Thank you, everyone.
Bud,
Thank you all. Thank you all.
Mark,
Aye, have a good day, everybody.
Rob,
Hi, thank you.
and Joe. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.